What's up, everybody, and welcome to today's video. We have a banger for you guys and a controversial video. We're checking out Pele. R.I.P. Pele. First things first, rest in peace, Pele. But I found this super interesting video. I was scrolling. This isn't a request from you guys, but I was scrolling through my feed and I found this video titled "Why Pele is Overrated." And from what I heard, Pele is like a god in the football community. So when I saw that title, I was like, dude, I gotta check this thing out. So I'm super excited to get into this thing. I want to give a shout out to Raymar Football again. I think I've done one more of his videos. He does really good videos. So when I saw that he made it, I was like, okay, I'm down to check it out. If you guys want to watch this full video, you guys can go ahead and do that. The link is going to be in the description down below to the full video. If you don't want me to be talking, if you don't like that the video is too small, or whatever the case may be, if you want to watch the full thing without me, feel free to go down there in the in the description and go ahead and do that. And if you want me to watch any video that you're interested in, or maybe you have a footballer that you think I would find interesting, because I'm learning more and more about people every single day, then go ahead and feel free to leave that in the comment section down below with your suggestion, and I'm going to get to them slowly but surely. But other than that, I'm excited to get into this thing. Why Pele is the most overrated footballer ever. Controversy. Let's see.
Pele is one of the most iconic football players who have ever lived.
Ronaldo.
He is a national hero in Brazil, has
I want to see
unbelievable records under his name, and
why is he
countless people
overrated?
Worldwide
I don't think a lot of people
him
are going to be
the
happy
greatest
about
player
that.
to ever step foot on the pitch. So would you believe me if I told you that Pele is actually the most overrated footballer of all time? Hey guys, what's up? It's Raymar back again for
Hey, Raymar.
another
What's up?
video, and today we're gonna look at why Pele is the most overrated footballer of all
Man,
time.
that's a bold
But
that's a
before you
bold
hit
claim
that
to make.
dislike button and call
That's a
me an
bold
idiot
claim.
in the
Oh.
comment section, I just want to say that
Hey,
I am
you guys
in no way
relax.
trying to disrespect Pele or the impact that he had on football. So just watch till the very end to see all the information before you start.
All right,
to
guys.
hate. So with that being said, let's get on to
Let's watch the video before we start hating. Let's watch the video.
For as long as I can remember, the idea that Pele was undoubtedly the greatest player ever just seemed to be taken in as a fact, and nobody really questioned why. Whenever names like Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo, or any other footballing icons are brought up, Pele always seems to be the benchmark
He wore number
or
10 too.
standard by which fans use to
I
judge
read on
these
one of my
players.
TikTok
Even a
comments
young
that I got that the
17-year-old
10 is
Cristiano Ronaldo
number
has
10 is
stated
for
that
the best
Pele
player
is
on the team.
greatest player
Or I think it was
in
on my YouTube
football
comment, maybe.
history. Well, Ronaldo was born in 1985, and by that time, Pele had already been retired for 8 years.
Damn.
So the question remains to even you guys watching out there, how can you call someone the greatest of all time if you've never even seen them play? So to break down why Pele is the most overrated footballer
I'm not gonna
ever,
lie. That's something that's always kind of been a little bit weird about the debates when it comes to like the older generation of players. Hold on, let me move over here a little bit. Okay. When it comes to the debate with the older generations of players, especially when you go to the ages when there was no cameras and the documentation wasn't as good as we have it now, like with baseball, you have people that argue Babe Ruth is the greatest of all time. And but there's no video, barely any, and it's the competition level back then is not the same. So sometimes I feel like it's pretty much like unfair to try to compare generation to generation, because at that time they could have been the best ever, but 20 years, 40 years, 50 years later, it's really hard to find that like a statement like that to hold up after decades. You know what I mean?
let's begin with his unreal and almost godlike record of scoring 1,283 goals.
Damn.
Which is the most recorded by any footballer in history.
1,182.
The truth is that 526, or roughly 40% of those goals, were not actually scored in official matches.
Ooh.
Those goals were actually scored in friendlies, exhibitions, and tour games against below-average teams and players. Even unofficial games like the ones recorded against the Brazilian Coast Guard were counted towards his goal tally. Pele's official record is 700.
He playing against the army? He playing against the Coast Guard?
Appearances, which, don't get me wrong, is of course still legendary. One of the best goal-scoring ratios of all time.
Damn.
However, if you look at the score sheet, you'll notice
11-0. Jesus Christ.
In games that Pele scored
10-1,
more than
10-2.
3 goals.
10-0.
We can see his team dominating their opponents with scores
Juventus
like
got
11-0,
destroyed a little.
11-1, and 10-0. Also, if you look at the clubs they're against, you'll probably notice Nacional, Juventus, and Botafogo. But those aren't the actual club giants. He never scored 5 goals against the Juventus in Italy or 5 goals against the Nacional in Uruguay. But he did score on the ones with the same name that played for the Brazilian league. Onto my next point is that the overall competition and level of football that Pele was playing against at the time was not very exceptional at all. Back in Pele's era, the overall standard and quality of football was not as good.
I feel like it's hard to really compare. Like I was saying earlier, it's hard to compare that because at the time he probably was the best. That's all that he can do. You can't be as good like as somebody that came 40 years in the future or something like that. So like I feel like that's kind of like an unfair kind of assessment where it's like, yeah, sure, the competition was less, but that's just natural progression of the game. People are going to get more skilled over time. People are going to have different training methods. People are going to learn from the past generations. So I don't know if that can be really counted as like something to hold against him. Like it's not his fault. So like I don't know how much weight that point has, to be honest.
Was an exceptional player in that generation because of how he transformed the game. It's no surprise that the nature of football
Look at those
or
shorts.
any other sport, just like with everything else in the world, increases in quality as time goes on due to factors like technological advancement, better understanding, and new styles
working on
being
that core,
developed.
okay.
If you've been paying attention to the level of defense being played, it was hardly impressive. In that era, only a handful of players really stood out. There weren't many elite defenders in that era,
Damn,
but
bro.
to be fair, Pele was a generational talent that had never been seen before. Being an exceptional offensive talent with that flair and touch that just seems to come natural to many Brazilian talents in today's game.
Are these clips sped up?
Pele's
Like, why is it
style
so
of play
fast?
actually bridged the term joga bonito, or the beautiful game, to the football world. But a good question you should ask yourself is, could Pele actually do this against defenders like Sergio Ramos, Paulo Maldini, Fabio Cannavaro, or other elite defenders that came so much longer after he had retired?
You can't compare that.
Try naming even a couple of elite defenders in Pele's time. And if you can't, then go ahead and hit that like button. Also, Pele's FIFA World Cup achievements aren't as marvelous as everyone is led to believe. Although he does have the most finals wins, many people believe that he also held the record for the most goals scored. But that record actually belongs to Ronaldo the Phenomenal.
Ronaldo! I did a reaction to him. Guys, if you want to see that.
Broke the record in 2014. The most World Cup games won also belongs to fellow Brazilian Cafu with 16. In fact, Pele was actually outperformed in all 3 of his World Cup final wins and really only won 2 World Cups. In his first World Cup final win in 1958, his teammate Didi was voted the player of the tournament. In his second World Cup win in 1962, he was injured and didn't even play any significant minutes, while his teammate Garrincha led Brazil to a win with some breathtaking performances. And on his third and final World Cup win in 1970, which was the first ever World Cup to be broadcasted in full color, Pele wasn't even Brazil's top goal scorer. The honor actually belongs to his teammate Jairzinho, who scored 7 goals.
It's tough because, okay, this is the only issue I have with this kind of logic is the impact of a player can be seen in more areas than just the goal scored statistics. So it's like, okay, he might not have had the most goals, but the leadership that he had on the team, the assisting, playmaking, strategy, like, you know, there can be so many other ways he affects the team other than goal scoring, because sure, that's the most important thing, and obviously you need to be proficient in goal scoring to win the game. But if you don't have somebody that's gonna hold the team together and be the glue, then you're really not gonna get anywhere. So on all of these, he's talking about, well, he wasn't the best player on the team. He wasn't the best, the player of the match or whatever it is. But you have to think about it like he might not have had the most goals scored, but why was that player the player of the match? Was it off an assist? Was it off a play call that he made? Was it off a strategy that he created? So there can be a lot that goes into it where I don't think that it's enough to make a blanket statement like, oh, well, he wasn't valuable in the finals because he didn't score a goal. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think.
So I read many Brazilians are actually aware of these facts. It's more common knowledge for them, but to everyone else, Pele's name just seems to be on a whole nother level. Apparently, if you ask any Brazilian who their greatest players are, you're likely to hear Jairzinho, Garrincha, or Zizinho. In fact, on my video
do I need to do some
about the
reactions
tragic
to
story of Robinho, there are quite a few Brazilian viewers saying how Pele is crazy and that nobody really pays attention to the things he says. Which, if you do want to watch, is on the top right corner of your screen right now or the first link in the description. Interestingly enough, in 2002, a year where Brazil won the World Cup, their coach Luis Scolari said that he believes Pele knows nothing about football. By the 1970s, Pele was world-renowned, being the second most recognizable name in Europe, second only to Coca-Cola. Pele was so famous that his club Santos took him out on multiple world tours to play exhibition matches and friendlies because so many people would pay to see him play, even if he was against absolute scrubs. And this is where most of his 500 plus unofficial goals would come from. He would play more than 100 games touring around Europe, and maybe this is how he earned such a legendary status. Every time Pele went on a tour, there would be newspaper articles and columns that circulated all over the world.
I mean, it's a promotional event, pretty much.
He was a walking box office hit. Each tour he went on increased not only his fame, but his seemingly legendary goal-scoring record. And maybe it's because of this that people would spread his name and tie it to being the greatest of all time. In all honesty, it just seems to me like the older generations talking about Pele as the best ever has kinda just been passed down and blindly accepted. Pele did
Is this like the LeBron versus Jordan argument?
Into a whole new level, bringing even more
or like the Wilt versus Jordan
interest in the sport. I guess you could say Pele is the grandfather of football. And maybe you as a football fan consider him the greatest ever simply because of all this. And don't get me wrong, Pele was the most dominant player in his era and was immensely gifted for his time. He is the all-time leading goal scorer for Brazil with 77 official goals, holds the record for the most hat-tricks with 92, the youngest to ever score a goal in the FIFA World Cup, and the youngest to score a...
So this is one thing I just had a thought. When we're thinking about the GOAT discussion, and it doesn't really have to do with just this sport itself, I feel like there's a little bit of confusion when it comes to determining what is the GOAT, because we got to think about it like this. Are we determining the GOAT based on how great that person was in their era? Because if we have the greatest of all time, in 100 years, there's going to be a player that's better. They're going to be faster. They're going to be stronger. They're going to be more skilled. They're going to be more athletic, whatever the case may be, because that's just the natural evolution of humans. So does that mean that every couple decades there's going to be a new greatest of all time? Because there's no way that you're going to tell me that Pele and Mbappe or Holland are at the same level athletically. It's just not possible. It's not going to happen. Mbappe is faster than Usain Bolt. It's not realistic. So is Mbappe now considered the greatest of all time because he's better in all of the statistics? I mean, in all the measurements of what makes a good footballer? Or are we going to make the decision of who is the GOAT based on what they did in their era? I feel like if you try to mix the two, it becomes an issue, because you can't go and take, oh, well, he played against the bad people, so he shouldn't be the greatest of all time. And then now when everybody in now in the new era, everybody's going against the best players. Right now, the competition now is better than it ever was. It's better than it ever was because people are getting better and better and better every single year. So is there's never going to be a GOAT then? Because because the people that are playing now in 100 years, people are going to be saying the same thing about them. Oh, those guys were just good. They were really not that good compared to now. So like it's a never ending circle. So that's why I don't think that there can be a GOAT debate. I feel like it just be the GOAT of the era. Like every era has their own GOAT.
World Cup.
Because if that's the logic, then there will never be one GOAT. It'll just keep changing.
Was the FIFA Player of the Century and was also included in Time Magazine's 100 Most Important People of the 20th Century. Anyways, the purpose of this video is to just inform you guys about a lot of misconceptions surrounding Pele's career and to basically give you a rundown of why I believe Pele is the most overrated footballer of all time. But again, I just want to say that I am in no way trying to disrespect Pele and what he has done for the world and for football. Because Pele is an amazing person still traveling the world and acting as an ambassador for the sport. It's definitely not a bad thing for the younger people to learn more about such an iconic figure. I mean, who knows? Maybe in 20 years the younger generation won't even consider Pele's name in the conversation for who was the greatest player of all time. I definitely believe that debate will be between Messi or Ronaldo. But let's save that topic for another video. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. This is my first upload over 10 minutes in a while, so leave a like.
Shout out to Raymar. That was an awesome video. Although I didn't agree with everything that he said, I feel like it's a valuable argument. It's smart. It's good to have discussions like this. I don't know too much about football, but I know a lot about sports in general, and I feel like a lot of the same things apply. No matter what the actual sport is, a lot of the same things apply. If you guys wanted to watch this whole entire thing, make sure you guys go into the description, and I'm going to have the link to this full video. If you want to go watch and subscribe to Raymar, please do. He makes awesome videos. If you guys had a good time and you guys enjoyed the video, I hope you stick around and watch some more. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.